radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? How you doing? Today is Monday, November 12th, 2018. 319 days into the new year, just 46 days left. And as always, we are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? All right. Tonight, kicking off the week, very special guest joining the show. Mr. Christopher O'Brien is here. Man, oh man, I can't wait for this. Chris is going to talk about his latest research and projects that he has got going on. He's been doing this for, I was just talking to him, 25 years, over 25 years. He doesn't look that old. 25 years in this game, and we're going to talk about all of that tonight. Tomorrow night, Johnny Enoch is here. First-time guest, Johnny Enoch. You excited about that, kids? Johnny Enoch from the Great White North. And tomorrow night, we're going to break this story tomorrow. I'm going to give you the leak to the story. The new Area 51. Where is it? What is it? We're going to talk about a lot of stuff tomorrow night, but that is going to break on the show tomorrow night. Johnny Enoch is here. Wednesday night, it's Patrick Wood. We're going to do Technocracy 2.0. I just had Patrick on Coast to Coast last night, and it was one of the great conversations I've had in a very, very long time. And I was just like, you know what? We've got to move some stuff around. We've got to get Patrick on Fade to Black right away. So we did that. We've got Patrick here with us on Wednesday night. Very excited about that. And Thursday night is another Fader night. Teresa Yannaris is here with a Divine Frequency on the airwaves, followed by open lines all night long. That's our week. We made it. It is Monday. Now, you know what to do on social media. That is, you can go and find me on Stellar, onstellar.com, Twitter right here at JChurchRadio, Facebook, we have our Fade to Black radio page. You can go and like that. And, of course, YouTube. You can subscribe to that channel. So all of our social media is out there. Everything is Jimmy Church or Fade to Black. It's easy to find. You can go to jimmychurchradio.com and click on all of those little things that people click on to follow, like, and subscribe and sub and do all of that stuff. Okay, so you can do that over at jimmychurchradio.com. All right, now, if you're new to the show, never been here before, we got a few things that we do here every single night, live in real time. One is the Sandbox. That is hashtag F2B on Twitter. All right, now, in front of me, you're looking at me right now on the bunker cam. Well, if you are, all right, right here is Twitter. Right here is hashtag F2B. All right, so that's the conversations going on there. Here is me over here, if you don't hashtag F2B, so I can see that. Then I've got hashtag F2B, the Sandbox. And then right next to that is hashtag F2BQ. That is Fade to Black questions. So any questions for myself or the guest tonight, Chris O'Brien, post it right there. We also have not one, two chat rooms. Those are happening over here on this computer. There's the Spreaker chat room and the KGRA chat room. Those are live right there. And if you can see, I don't know if you can see this in the camera. See, and then that over there, that's weird, right? That's, you know what? That's kind of like, if you think about it, that's this is the movie Spaceballs going on right here, right? So that's the video feed that's going out. So that is me in the now, right? So that is what's going on? What the heck am I looking at? So that's what that is over there. So that's it. That's how it's all laid out. If you're new to the show, that's what's going on. Everything is live and in real time. If you choose, you can also email Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. And I try to get to as much of the email as I can during the show. And I do have a cool email that I received right before the show tonight. I'm going to read that in a little bit. Okay, breaking news. I hate to do this. But yes, earlier today, rest in peace, Stan Lee. The legendary, and certainly applies to Stan, the writer, the editor, publisher of Marvel Comics, who in most eyes, including my own, Stan Lee was a real-life superhero. He died. He passed away today. He was 95 years old. And if you just think about it, Thor and Spider-Man and everything else that he created for us and made growing up pretty cool, right? And the success of Marvel Studios and the movies, which I watch them all. I do. Passed away today. And he rocked it all the way to 95. And whatever the last Marvel, I don't even know what the last thing that we saw, which was a couple of weeks ago, Rita and I. But Stan always does, the little cameos, right? Does the little cameos. And I believe he was like a bus driver, a metro bus driver. He's driving the bus. I was like, man, Stan. You always look for Stan's little thing that he did in every single movie. But he passed away today. And like I said, he rocked it all the way to 95 years old. Wow. Well, it's one of those things, I swear. I'm just going to say it because I know everybody's thinking the same thing. Every time you saw Stan in a movie, doing the cameo, it's like, man, he's still alive, right? I mean, 95. He did it his way. And so there's nothing else to say to that. Rest in peace, Stan. And there you go, 95 years old. All right, other breaking news, and this is all over mass media once again. And this time it comes over from Ireland. Several sightings of an unidentified flying object, a UFO, at astronomical speed, air quotes, before disappearing off the coast of Ireland, has sparked an investigation by the Irish Aviation Authority. The UFO was first spotted by a British Airways pilot last Friday, November 9th, at approximately 6:47 a.m. local time while flying over the southwest coast of Ireland. The pilot was flying a Boeing 787 from Heathrow to Montreal when he made a call to Shannon Air Traffic Control, ATC, to ask if there was any military exercises taking place in the airspace. A Virgin Airlines Boeing 747 pilot then joined the conversation. You can listen to the audio, by the way. And then a third pilot chimes in to say that, I'm quoting here, glad it wasn't just me, and reported that a UFO was astronomical. It was like Mach 2. That's what he said. Shannon ATC told the British Airways pilot that other aircraft in the air have also reported the same thing, so we're going to have to look and see. The Irish Aviation Authority said that it has filed a report of the unusual air activity following reports from a small number of aircraft on Friday. There you go. Mainstream media covering UFOs. Now, and the other thing is this, and I don't want to interject my opinions or thoughts on this because we need more info. But after listening to the recordings and the descriptions that came in from the pilots, one of them very specifically said these things came down and were like next to us. You know, that's not what a meteor does. One of the other pilots said, well, it kind of looked like a meteor. And that was kind of strange. And so very, very weird. You know, that combined with the video that was posted up over the weekend on Coast to Coast AM's website of those objects that were coming down and then staying stationary. And some were saying that those could have been parachutes, right? And some type of nighttime, dramatic things going on where they're using flares. And so that I backed off on that, but the descriptions of what these pilots saw compared to what was filmed over Costa Mesa or Mesa, or was it Mesa? Was it Costa Mesa? It was here in Southern California. Very similar in their descriptions. So there you go. Talking Meteors Matter, audio of UFO sighting in Irish airspace. Thank you for that. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can. Hashtag F2B, and everything is right there. Okay, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. You can do that for just $2 per month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com. Click on the podcast banner. You get all the software and apps that you need. And it's right there. It's just $2 a month. We have over 900 archive shows right there. Tomorrow is going to be show number 950. 950. How did we get here? But all of those shows are right there in our podcast for just $2 a month. You can also become a Fade or Not. Go to our membership section on jimmychurchradio.com. That's right. You can get downloadable, commercial-free MP3s right there. You can play anywhere. You can do that. You can become a game changer. You get autographed hats and T-shirts and get an email to me. What else? You get the bunker cam, all that stuff. Okay? All right. Become a Fade or Not today. Help support the show. Don't forget, all of our sponsors here, just go and support the show by clicking on their banners at jimmychurchradio.com. That's how this show broadcasts. It's done through your support. And we've been doing this night after night after night now for 5 years. 5 years. Every single night you can come here and listen live. Show broadcast for free. You don't have to do anything. It's just right here. And that's how we do it with our sponsors. Okay? And your support. All right. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today, Neil Young. Neil Young is 73 years old. Now, today's his birthday, but he lost his home in the SoCal fires this weekend. Yep. Quite a few celebrities did, and although that's kind of expected, first off, it's Southern California. Second, it's Malibu, and that's who lives out there. But homes are homes, and property is property, and that kind of destruction is awful to go through. And Neil Young lost his home this weekend. Anne Hathaway today is 36. She was in Don Peyote, right? Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway today is 36. OTD on this day in history, 1980. More than 3 years after its launch, the planetary probe Voyager 1, right? Voyager 1 gets to within 77,000 miles of Saturn and starts beaming back high resolutions to planet Earth, high-resolution images. And then it was revealed in those images. Most people don't know. We thought that Saturn had like 3 rings, 6 rings. That's what we could count, with the telescope. And then we find out, I forget what the number was, like 200 rings. Some were like braided together and weaved, and it was crazy. Defied all those physics that we thought were taking place around in those rings of Saturn. Also discovered, I think, 3 new moons. And I think that with those high-resolution images, they found out, I think it was Titan, that Titan had an atmosphere. I'm old. I can't remember everything, but I try to. But that was a pretty big day, and it happened on this day in 1980. Fader fact. Are you ready? Fader fact. Right now, I'm looking at the clock, and this is my Fader fact. The Earth has traveled more than 15,000 miles since the start of this show 15 minutes ago. And that is your Fader fact. All right. Tonight, very special guest, Chris O'Brien is here. Very excited about that. We're going to talk about all of his latest research and his projects that he is working on. He's been in this field for over 25 years. Crypto, right? Bigfoot, cattle mutilations, UFOs, sightings. He's been doing it for a very, very long time. We're going to discuss all of that and what is going on, not only with our community, with all of this stuff, because he's got a great, exciting project that we announced last month on the show going on over in Crestone. We're going to talk about that tonight, too, as well, and what he is doing in the future. Okay, so we're going to talk about all of that tonight with Chris O'Brien. Tomorrow night, first-time guest Johnny Enoch is here. We're going to talk about the new Area 51 that you don't know about. That is tomorrow night. We're also going to talk about lost history, and we're going to do some Egypt, and we're going to discuss South and Central America tomorrow night. All of that with Johnny Enoch. Wednesday night, Patrick Wood is here. Now, I had Patrick on Coast to Coast last night. I think we did like 2.5 straight hours last night with Patrick. And I got to the end of the show, and I was like, well, there's too much more to discuss here. It's a great conversation. So we moved stuff around, and we've got Patrick back joining us on Fade to Black on Wednesday night. I'm calling the show Technocracy 2.0 because we did 1.0 last night. Thursday night's another Fader night with Teresa Yannaris, Divine Frequency on the airwaves, followed by open lines all night long. Now, all right, I got to talk to you about something for a second, and let's just get this going. Let me hit this River Moon coffee. Yep. Well, here it is. It's Monday night, and somehow we made it here to start off another great week on the show, right, on Fade to Black. But for us and for most of California, it was a very, very long weekend. And Friday was one of the most trying days for our community here in California, with all of the news coming out of the Central Valley and the town of Paradise and dealing with the massive fires that are still burning here right now, today. I think that all of us just wanted the time to pass as quickly as possible, right? We just want everything to end. We want it to stop burning. And then the winds kicked off again overnight. So we'll see. But the news and the video of the destruction is unbelievable. And we got the news yesterday that L.A. Marzulli, researcher, friend, and show host with us here on KGRA, lost his home and studio to the fires. And you see, here's the thing. My job, my gig is radio. It's what I do. It's how I take care of my family. And we all have a job, but mine is broadcasting. And all weekend I was over at Coast, right? I rap on Fade to Black, and boom, I roll over to Coast for the weekend. And during the show over at Coast this weekend, I have a large monitor in front of me in the studio with breaking news on it. And we have to do that. This is a live national radio show, the biggest overnight radio show, the largest, for 25 years. We have a large audience. So part of that, when you broadcast for a network, the biggest network in the world, which is Premier iHeartRadio, if there's breaking news, I have to do it. So I've got, the news is always live in front of me, and we do that for the obvious reasons, right? I have to know what's going on. And if something does break, I have to report it. But there's another thing altogether when the breaking news is a huge fire burning just north of the studio, right, as I'm broadcasting. And this time around, I didn't have, thankfully, anything crazy that I had to break into the show with, but I did have to watch it. Now, over the last 4 or 5 years, there have been a few times when it has happened, and I don't like it when I have to break into a show with breaking news. Because the sort of breaking news that you interrupt a show with is always bad. It's not good news that you break in, to the broadcast with. And I get it. It's my job. But it doesn't make it easy or something that you get used to. But I do have a responsibility to the audience and to the network. But it's the part of the job that I just don't enjoy. I don't. Now, what it does do for me is that it puts everything into perspective in a very direct sense, in that life can change for you in an instant. The kind of changes in life that last forever. So when you hear me say things like, I don't do negative, well, I don't, because I have to live with it. It's my job. And I have my reasons for saying that. I just don't do negative. And when I do say it, I mean it. The last thing I want to do, seriously, is fan flames. That's it. I don't do negative. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to create negativity for you. And all of you, really, seriously, should do what I do. Don't do negative. Life is short. Do the same thing. Life is short. It's very, very short. So this is my advice. And I have said this to my kids since they were born. Always do the right thing. If you're listening to me right now, always do the right thing. Every minute, every second of every day. If you're out there posting on Facebook or on Twitter negative, you're part of the problem. So I want you to stop and think about, did you post something negative today? Did you say something negative to somebody? Was it political? Did you attack somebody for being right or left? Did you do that? Don't do it, right? Something about UFOs or ghosts or the paranormal or time travel or dogs or cats or vegetarians or meat eater. Did you post something negative today? Well, you wish you could take it back. Don't do it. Just don't. You don't want the last thing, the thing that everyone will remember about you is that you were being an ass. Is that what you want? Or even worse, that if something bad happens to somebody, anybody, and the last thing you did or said to that person wasn't cool, wasn't nice, right? Is that what you want? Is that the legacy you want? Always do the right thing, no matter what happens. Because if you do, you run clean. Your mind, your conscience, everything. Your day is a bright light. And the night, too, by the way. So with that, it's another great week coming up on Fade to Black. And I really look forward to each Monday. And this particular Monday couldn't get here fast enough. And I am serious. Listen to me. I thank you for that. We thank you for that. All of you. Seriously. So today I got this email, and I want to read it to you. It says, "Hello, Jimmy. I listened to your Coast to Coast show last night, and I was laughing about the bit on the Triumph song. I have a rural newspaper route, and I listen to the show every night. After Coast to Coast is over, a local radio show takes over at 5 a.m. Willis and Snyder in the morning. Hello, Willis and Snyder. Willis and Snyder in the morning. That sounds cool. They have a call-in contest every morning using a trivia question and offering a chance to win tickets to an event happening locally. This morning, the tickets they offered were for a New Year's Eve party at the Hard Rock Rocksino, where they are having a Journey event with a Journey tribute band. The trivia question was about an early Journey album in which there was a second lead singer in addition to Steve Perry. The question was, who was the second lead singer? So I wanted to call in and say it was Jimmy Church. So keep those golden pipes tuned, Jimmy. And that's from Rachel. Now, this is the thing, and thank you for the email. That Triumph humor last night during the show was me just trying to deflect from the fires that were burning on the monitor in front of me and the darkness and the craziness. And I'm trying to keep it light, right? I'm just trying to get through the show and have fun. I don't want to be brought down with negativity and have that broadcast through the airwaves. It's not what I do. And that's how I clean up my own mind. I crack a joke about Rick Emmett. And, you know, hopefully it made everyone laugh because Rachel did. And that's what I do. All right? There's so much negativity in this world right now. And I don't have the time for it. I'm around it so much that if I stopped and read or got affected by all of this negativity, then it's going to come through this microphone and it's going to go back to you and it's going to bum I just don't do it. I don't react to it. And when I had said last week, and when I was like, you know what, man, I just block people. I really do. You know, and if you think about it, with all of the broadcasters out there and all of the show hosts and the people on the news and the things that are on television and all of that stuff that's out there, if those people reacted to negativity and spoke about it on the air, or I just got this tweet, I just read this tweet, I just saw this post, I saw this thing, and I, you know what would that say? What would that do to you? You know, and I am the exact same way. I just don't do it. I don't, and I'm not going to. So practice. I do it. You should do it too. It'll change you. You know, it'll change. You won't be dragged down. There is nothing worse than walking around with luggage hanging off of you, big 50-pound Samsonite bags full of rocks, because you went and posted something on Facebook. You went and read something and reacted to it. You did something on Twitter. You did something on YouTube. You know, think about that for a second. Because if anything tragic happens, anything crazy in your life or somebody else's, and the last correspondence was you being an ass, that's your legacy. And you need to think about that. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, it is Chris O'Brien. Chris O'Brien, I cannot wait for this conversation. Professional. Man, he hosted, I'm going to ask him about this when he's, this will be the first question out of the gate. He hosted the Paracast forever, right? I'm a virgin. I've only been doing this for 10 years, right? Fade to Black for 5, right? That's who I have on tonight. Chris O'Brien. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. On the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. This is truly bespoke radio for the masses. We'll be right back after this short break.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
when you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black. You create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Times are changing. The circus of politics, healthcare's low standards and high prices, and let's not forget food quality. What to do? Arm yourself with Life Change Tea at GetTheTea.com. In a world of chemical imbalance and poor air and water quality, it's time you make a move. Log on to GetTheTea.com and stock up on organic non-GMO supplements. Don't forget the tea. Cleansing your body never felt so good. And we have a brand new tea called Takedown Tea, which helps support healthy glucose. All natural body support so you can be at your best, naturally. All you have to do is log on to GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. We're not a fad that comes and goes. We are the real deal. Join us and armor up. GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. Changing America's health one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo-3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Bob Ryan from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Christopher O'Brien is with us. Tomorrow night, Johnny Enoch is here. Wednesday night, Patrick Wood discussing Technocracy 2.0. Thursday night, another Fader night. Teresa Yaniris is going to be here. Divine Frequency on the airwaves, followed by open lines all night long. But tonight, it's Chris. And Chris O'Brien has devoted over 20 years, 25 years to investigating and researching hundreds of unexplained events in South Central Colorado, North Central New Mexico's San Luis Valley, also known as the SLV. His investigation is detailed in his Mysterious Valley book trilogy and field investigations of UFOs, cattle mutilations, crypto creatures, and etc. Is one of the largest databases of unusual occurrences gathered from a single region. His latest project, UFO DAP, UFO DAP, is actively monitoring the airspace over the SLV, and we announced that last month with Chris here on Fade to Black. He has appeared on over 70 TV shows, including Ancient Aliens, Coast to Coast, Fade to Black right here, UFO Hunters, Inside Edition, Extra, etc. And it has produced the film It Could Happen Tomorrow, winner of 2012 EBE Film Festival Awards for Best Feature and People's Choice Awards. His latest book, Stalking the Herd, is the most comprehensive book written, attempting to unravel the cattle mutilation mystery. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Mr. Christopher O'Brien. Chris, you there?
I'm here. Good to be back, Jimmy.
Good evening. How are you, man?
I'm going through a kind of a chest cold, so if I start sounding like Croaky the Frog, don't wonder why.
You sound great. You sound great,
good.
And that's all that matters. Do you remember what was that skit on Saturday Night Live? Ricardo Montalban, right? It's better to look marvelous than to feel marvelous, right? So that's all. You sound great. That's all that matters, Chris. That's all that matters. So
Billy Crystal.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Billy Crystal. Yeah. Last month, I want to start here before we go backwards. I want to do a little current events. We announced the UFO DAP last month here on Fade to Black with you, and we did that little Kickstarter for you. And
thank you very much, by the way.
Absolutely. Every little bit counts, but what's the latest? Have you started collecting data?
Yeah, we have actually. It's been it's a lot more complicated and technical when you have the kind of setup that we have, and so it's taken a little bit of time to get everything dialed in, but we're right at that point now where we have our main cameras dialed in, and we do have a couple of things that we need to tweak on it. It's not quite level, which is one thing that's going to be an issue. But we have our the guy who did all our installation work, Gary Meyer. He's actually out by you right now. His father's been ill, and he's out there taking care of him. He'll be back in about a week. And so we'll get him up there just to put it up about a degree from left to right. It's just slightly slanted. And we need to shore it up a little bit when we go all the way out 36 times optical zoom. There's a little bit of a shake there, so we need to get that taken care of. But we have our software is operating, and we've got the detection algorithms are getting the bugs are getting out of that, and it's a lot more involved, and it's a lot more technical than I think the average person would imagine. It's pretty involved. A lot of it's over my head. That's why we have an ex-Cisco engineer and an ex-Disney computer scientist that are doing all these algorithms and stuff. It's way above my pay grade.
Right. And Chris, can I get you to speak up into the microphone? It sounds a little different than sound check. Are you using the same microphone?
Yes, I am.
Wow.
Hold on.
Okay. All right. Okay. So moving on.
How's that?
Well, we'll find out as we continue on. The data itself, have you seen? Because, and you can describe to the audience actually what's going on. We'll go over that again, but you're triangulating and locating with automation and custom software objects in the sky. Has the triangulation worked, and have you been able to see things?
Well, we've been able to see things. We've had three events that were pretty anomalous. At that point, we hadn't got the actual user interface, the GUI, operating, so we couldn't record. But one of our guys was monitoring for about 3 straight nights, was monitoring quite a number of hours. And he did have a very interesting event of a light that appeared to shoot down a light into the area, and it actually blinded the camera. We had a huge white flash that we could not, it seemed to come from above, and we were unable to determine actually where it came from, although we did have, just prior to that, we had an object that was approaching us from the upper, I think, left-hand side from the north by northwest coming in, and the camera responded to it, but he was manually controlling it at this point, and when he went to look at it, our camera was blinded for an instant, and we, unfortunately, at that point, this was pretty early on, we hadn't got the graphic user interface, the auto portion of that working, and so we were unable to go into record mode. But we've got all that figured out now. So as soon as we get a really, really nice event, that'll be all recorded. The other camera is still being worked on, getting it's called a VPN. It's a virtual private network that we need to establish back to California, because we're going into a trunk line. And so it caused more headaches for us, because we're not going to like your standard IPS, internet company with a router and everything. We're going right into a trunk line. So we have to establish a virtual private network through the internet for that one, and we're still working on that.
Now, with this, what do you hope to achieve, and what's the goal?
Well, the goal is very simple. All of us that are interested in the UAP or UFO subject would agree that most of what we're seeing today is very reactive. It's going through databases. It's collecting information. It's everything is after the fact. Everything is downstream from the actual event. And what we're attempting to do is capture these events in a very, very hot spot area, which is the San Luis Valley, which I've demonstrated since the late 80s, early 90s. I've demonstrated this is an extremely active area that has a fairly consistent amount of unexplained aerial activity. So what we've done is we've set up 2 cameras. And what we're hoping to do with these cameras is automatically these cameras are being taught, basically, and programmed with algorithms how to capture unusual aerial activity, factor out any conventional explanation, and then go ahead and record that and have all the cameras in the system. Ultimately, we're going to have 4, but right now we're at 2, and have both those cameras focus in on the event. And with 2 cameras looking at an event, you can determine distance, size, airspeed, altitude, azimuth, all these various things that we really want to know real time. And that combined with a pretty sophisticated package of detection gear that will look for changes in the Earth's magnetic field, changes in the Earth's gravity. With this type of scientific information and acoustic recordings, for instance, electromagnetic tri-field meter fluctuations in the electromagnetic spectrum, with this kind of information real time, and then getting it again, duplicating that information, you could write a scientific paper. And we really feel that this is the direction that ufology needs to be going in, to get proactive, to really attempt to get hard data. Now, there's a lot of naysayers out there that say, well, they tried that up at Skinwalker Ranch, and it was the trickster got involved, and every time they thought they had something, it would pull the wires out, or there's all these apocryphal stories, and we understand all that. But in the San Luis Valley, we have a 360-degree, we can see 200 miles in all directions, and it's a little different than, a little hidden valley in Utah. We've got incredible vistas, and we're covering 5,000 square miles of airspace. So we're hoping to make history, basically.
Is there, when you start to collect this data, you also need to start to categorize and hopefully debunk certain things too as well, where we can remove aircraft, normal man-made stuff, or what possibly could be a satellite, and then we have the truly unexplainable stuff that don't fit into those categories. Will you be able to do that?
Yes. There's a very good program called Flight Radar 24 that allows you to instantly, in real time, factor out any transponded aircraft in the area. And that's, we're going to be eventually tying in with that. There's also the NASA Bolide project. There's most of the Earth's satellites, I think, will be able to determine are way up there in the sky. Possibly we will get some high flyers that are trying to pretend to be satellites. I'm not really sure how many of the sworn satellites are being listed. I'm sure there's some up there that are officially not acknowledged. So I think for the most part, the man-made objects are going to be pretty easy to factor out. The things that I'm really interested in are some of the natural phenomena that may be occurring in the San Luis Valley that have not yet been defined. Piezoelectrical discharges from the quartz inside the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, for instance. Strange lighting effects out at the Great Sand Dunes, where you can get some static electrical charges that are built up by the wind and the sand. There's $2 billion worth of methane about 8 miles away from our front row camera. And there may be times when the methane actually fluoresces. And so any low to the ground, colorful, mist, for instance, we might be able to factor out some sightings from the past that have reported those as unusual craft, let's say, or lighted craft. So there's natural phenomena too that we're very interested in capturing because it's very rare. And I don't know of any good examples of, for instance, it's like the Brown Mountain Lights, for instance, which are a lot more predictable in a sense. But we're looking to be able to factor out all potential false positives and really concentrate on landing the real anomalous, intelligent flybys that aren't man-made.
Now, you've been, in the San Luis Valley and investigating there since 1992. That's a long time. With all of the sightings that you have spent out there, you did, nearly 10 straight years investigating the valley. When you look back at all the things that you have witnessed in a roundabout way, can you venture to guess how many of those sightings where you went, you know what? That's ET, right? That is not from this planet. Do you walk away with that conclusion often?
Well, I'll tell you, there have been some sightings that I really just for the life of me, I can't say that it was anything that was ours that we know about officially. There was quite a number. I've had sightings of small craft, for instance, that have been very, very close to me. One sighting in particular was 150 feet away in broad daylight, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. As we were driving along, this thing flew right in front of our car. At first, I thought it was a model airplane really close to us, like some sort of remote, RC type plane or something. But then I realized, no, it was quite a further away, meaning it was much, much bigger. It was probably about 10 to 12 feet. And this thing scooted by like a fishing lure. It looked like somebody was reeling it in from across the other side of the Huerfano Valley to the backside of the Sangre de Cristos, and had 2 other witnesses with me too. So it wasn't my imagination. It was like, what was that? And these little things have been seen all the way back into the early 60s. So this is, again, one of those things that once you start doing the research and you start looking at waves of sightings and particular, descriptions of craft, and then you encounter something like that, 50 years later or 40 years later, it's kind of hard not to sit there and scratch your head and just go, man, there's something strange flying. That's one of the many strange things flying around here, but it's consistent. And these things have been reported going into the mountains. There was a whole spate of them going in and out of Middle Creek Hill and the Sangres back in the 60s. So that was pretty amazing. The huge craft that block out the stars, I've seen a couple of those. One was rectangular, one was triangular. Those were very, very impressive. Even though there were no lights, there was no way to determine the actual distance from the ground. It was immense, though. It had to have been at least a mile and a half long. So, craft like that, there's nothing that I know of, and I'm fairly well read, and I try to keep up on, aerospace stuff, and it's just too big, too large. For us to be able to fly something like that around without it being known about and word getting out. So yeah, there's been quite a number, and some of the weird natural phenomena too that may be quite strange in nature in terms of maybe something other, let's say, but looks, for outward appearances, like something natural. These large, I call them cheap fireworks. They're like large dud fireworks that fly around. I've seen them with a completely uniform overcast sky below me in altitude, lighting up the tops of trees, for instance. And they only last a couple, 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and they look like giant bottle rockets that are fizzling out. I still have yet to come up with an explanation of what they are. They're not meteors because, like I said, I've seen them with complete overcast skies. So it's just a whole potpourri of things out there. And I haven't seen one of the big motherships that land with all lit up like Christmas trees. And there have been descriptions of craft there that some of the ranchers have seen in the more remote areas that remind me of, maybe not quite as dramatic as the ending scene of Close Encounters, but stuff that's huge, the size of large buildings landing in guys' pastures. And it's just bewildering, really. I mean, I literally fielded myself hundreds and hundreds of calls in 10 years. And then, just some of the stories that you hear from, people saying, yeah, my parents, they told us kids, man, when they first moved there, they saw this, and so many stories, apocryphal stories that go all the way back into the 20s about craft sightings there.
Did you have an event that got you into this before you were, a professional researcher and, got into writing and broadcasting? Was there something that brought you here?
Well, not really. I moved to Santa Fe, and I found out within a week that just wasn't a good fit for myself and my girlfriend. And I had a couple that lived up in the San Luis Valley, good friends of ours, and they said, well, hey, come on up here and check it out and see if you like it. We got an extra couple, 3 bedrooms. And so I went up there. There was only 155 people that lived there at the time. And it was the second night I was there, half the town showed up for a party, which is very interesting. It was quite a wild party. But, the only thing that I knew about the San Luis Valley was the Snippy the horse mutilation case, which occurred way back in 1967 in June or September of 1967. That I remember as a kid when I was 10, seeing the Enquirer headline of flying saucers killed my horse, and in the picture of Snippy lying on the ground with the people looking at it. And I remember that distinctly. And I'd never actually been to the valley, but that's when I first found out about it, all the way back when I was a 10-year-old. And when I moved there, that wasn't why I moved there. I thought all that stuff was ancient history, that nothing was still going on. So for the first couple of years, 89, 90, I didn't really, I asked a few of the old timers if, anything was going on. They looked at me like I had 2 heads. So I figured pretty early on just to keep quiet about it. But then things started happening. I started seeing things. Friends of mine started seeing things. I started to, once I got to know people, they would open up and say, well, I have seen a few things. And so by 91, then I was starting to pick up my ears and take notice, and go out and check places out. I saw a swirled landing circle out at the Mineral Hot Springs. It was a big swirled down area and grass from a landing the night before. So I had my eyes open and ears open. And then by 92, then it really started to pick up. And then that's when I really started getting involved as full time as I possibly could. I put 300,000 miles on my little truck there in about 6-7 years.
The nighttime sightings are one thing, but it's the daytime stuff when that happens. In my opinion, that's the holy grail. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. People say, yeah, why don't you have night vision? Why don't you have FLIR? And the reason is because we really want the daylight stuff. That's where you get all your scientific information. The nighttime stuff can be dramatic. We do have cameras that go down to 0.001 lux, so any sort of moonlight's going to give us a pretty nice image for nighttime. It's very, very efficient light gathering, but it's the daytime sightings that are really key, because you're able to really learn a lot more information about an object when it's flying around. If you have a good optical zoom and you have different camera positions, and that combined with the magnetometer, the gravitometer, the EM meters, and the acoustic recordings, there's some real interesting recordings that have been made over the years of UFO sounds. The low 15 to 20 cycle sounds, up to about 40, 45 cycles. In that range, there's a lot of scientific information that can be gleaned. When these things do right angle turns, or when they reverse direction, for instance, there is a very powerful extremely low frequency sound wave that's produced. And if we can get good recordings of that, that's gonna give us a whole, just like a candy box full of data. So this is really exciting. The level of technology, the cost of equipment, and now the internet is going out into these rural areas where sightings tend to happen more frequently. And once you get those combinations of facts, you got a perfect storm to go ahead and create low-cost monitoring systems that can be placed very efficiently and easily anywhere in the world. We're doing this now as a boilerplate, because if you go to UFODAP.com, you'll notice as soon as the site's up in about a week, you'll notice that we'll have packages that you can actually buy that are extremely low cost, that are just we're keeping the price down as absolutely as low as we could go, so that we can get some of these systems set up in other hotspot areas. Ultimately, our goal is to have a whole web of these things around the planet, all gathering data, and we're really, hopefully we're going to get to a point where the data overwhelms the mystery.
Well, you're right about that. And there's a couple, we all know about Joshua Tree, right? We know about ESETI Ranch, Skinwalker, but there are Sedona, right? There are places that I can't explain, Shasta, that I visited where it is absolutely out of control every single night. I don't, here in Los Angeles, I've got great night vision. I can go out with all this light pollution here, and I can still see a couple of things per night that I can't explain. But there are other places where it's off the hook, and there is something going on, and your solution is very, very inexpensive. I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Let's take a break now. Can people still donate, by the way?
Sure. Yeah, we still have our GoFundMe project up. We're going to go back in the spring and put the other two cameras up, and the multi instrumented packages, the MSDAUs, the gravitometers, the magnetometer.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight is Christopher O'Brien. I do want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, Johnny Enoch is going to be here. And on Wednesday nights, that's right, Patrick Wood is back. I had him on Coast to Coast last night, bringing him back for Fade to Black on Wednesday night. Thursday night's going to be Fader Night, open lines all night long. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Christopher O'Brien. We'll pick it up while we're leaving off right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. It's Monday, start of another week. Here we go. Tonight, Christopher O'Brien is here. Been doing this for a very, very long time. I'm a rookie. Chris, I'm a rookie. You probably look at me and go, Church, man, you've got so much to learn. You need to come and hang out with me. But you've been doing this for a long, long time, and I wanted to share this with you. We were up at ECETI. Now, out of everything, I've got night vision, and I go out, I do my thing, and you've done it. We've all seen stuff, right? But check this out. This is the one thing out of everything that I've ever seen is the absolute nuttiest. And thank goodness I had witnesses. We're up at ESETI in the middle of the day. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I've got my ginormous Celestron binoculars on a tripod on a picnic table, right? And I'm just sitting there looking at Mount Adams, zooming in and enjoying nature. I'm in the moment, right? And sitting next to me is Steve Murillo, right? And you know Steve, and he's sitting next to me, and there's probably, 5 or 10 people sitting to my left on the picnic tables, and there's people running around. Well, anyway, so I'm looking at the top of Mount Adams, and I'm looking at the rocks and looking at the trees, looking at the birds, and just kind of getting things into focus, and I'm doing this for about 10 or 15 minutes. And at the top of the mountain, which is a peak, and you've seen Mount Adams enough, you know how it is. And so I've got it in view. And this is what happens, Chris, on All That I Love. At that moment, and I'm in the Zen state, right? Calm, birds, butterflies, right? Right. And at that instant, from behind the peak of Mount Adams, pops up in perfect focus. Imagine a black beer can, 200 feet tall, 300 feet tall, vertical, black beer can with a silver logo on it in the middle, spinning, and it's moving from left to right, and it pops up behind the mountain. And it's the mountain is 14 miles away, and the peak is, so this thing is huge. It's beyond description, and it's perfectly in focus, and it's spinning slowly, and you can see this round silver spot in the middle turning with it, and I freak. I freak, right? I jump up, and I'm yelling, video, 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 shoot, camera, everybody, I lose my mind. And I come back, and as I come back to sit down, this is like 10 seconds later, Steve Murillo goes, I see it, man. And he's got naked eye. It's black with the silver thing, and it's spinning. I said, yeah. I jump back on my binoculars, and I look, and there it is, and it's moving. And I'm thinking at that moment that we have clear blue sky going to the east for miles, right? So we're going to watch this thing for a while. We're going to get video and everything. And I pull off my binoculars and look at it with my naked eye. There it is. And I come back to the binoculars, and I try to move it, to catch back up to it, and it's gone. And I go back, and I look with the naked eye. It disappeared. It lasted for about 20 seconds, 15 seconds. I had enough time to jump up, yell and scream, come back, sit down, look, talk, boom, get back off, and it was gone. And daylight, and now, just imagine, and which you are right now, what I saw as I describe it to you in the middle of the day. Now, I can't, and it was like the holy grail of sightings. Didn't get it on video. It happened too quick. I reacted the way I did, and I didn't do the normal things. I should have grabbed my cell phone. I should have videotaped. I should have done everything myself. Everybody's...
It's invariably, it's so exciting to have these things happen that you're something happens to the human mind. Oftentimes, people, interviewing people for so many years and so many just hundreds of witnesses, you get a very consistent version that people are mesmerized, number one, by what they see. Most often, people are they don't want to move or take their eyes off it for fear that they'll miss something. And so they forget to grab their camera. They forget to grab the video camera. And it just, so many times, it's happened to me.
I know.
And, but it's funny you should mention Mount Adams. That's the next place that we want to have a system, and we're working with some folks with Washington State MUFON to make that happen. You want to know something? It was on the other side of Mount Adams, wasn't it? On the east side when it came up. We want to get on the east side because right there, north of the Hanford nuclear site, on the edge, the northwest corner of the Yakima Indian Reservation, that is ground zero for the Mount Adams area. there's some amazing activity that's been going on there for years, and it doesn't get reported outside of the area. The other side, on James's side, at the SETI side, there's a lot of stuff going on. There's also conventional stuff that's being misconstrued, especially at night. It's the east side of Mount Adams where all the real major stuff's been going on, all the way back into the original June flap, around the time of Kenneth Arnold.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that was all in this area. And right. I sit here and the night vision stuff, which I enjoy doing so much, right? And when you have something moving from east to west and it's in a satellite trajectory and it's consistent, okay, I get that. I get the ISS, flyovers and we can all deduce that. But when you've got stuff that is not that high in the atmosphere, that may not be 200 miles out when stuff is lower, but going in a northwest trajectory or north to south polar orbit, that isn't a normal satellite thing. And then you have the crazy movements that go on with that, and some are fast, some are slow. I know it's a satellite when it's a satellite, and I still like to see it because when you pull the night vision away and you can't see it with the naked eye, that's fun. But up at ECETI, I would say that half of the night, and this goes on, in Crestone too, and this goes on in Joshua Tree and Sedona, half of the stuff is naked eye. And that is a tough thing to explain away, and I just enjoy it.
Yeah, and having lived in Sedona for 14 years and, conducted quite a number of UFO tours over the years, I've seen some pretty amazing stuff there as well. And that's also a very good spot for one of these UFO DAP systems. Up at Mount Adams, our contract expert and one of our astronomer, kind of amateur astronomer, he's got a number of really, really nice telescopes. Wayne Hollenbeck, he was kind of one of the principals of the UFO project. He was up with Sandra Marsh. He used to be with LA MUFON, and they were up at the Trout Lake area, and they videotaped a sighting of an object that couldn't have been. It was less than a half a mile away. They were in a clearing of trees, and this thing went all the way around them, and they got great footage of this. It was a nocturnal, it was a nighttime sighting, but there are a number of times during the filming, which is about almost 30 or 40 seconds, if I remember, you can actually see structure. Yeah. And this thing did a full circle around him, and Wayne has never forgotten that. That's why it took a lot to convince him to concentrate on the San Luis Valley first and not go up to Mount Adams. Unfortunately, we cannot find a good spot up there with high enough bandwidth for the internet. But fortunately, in the valley, we finally got internet in the areas that we needed.
Yeah, and there was not to dwell on this because I want to get to cattle mutilations, but you're right about that. It's one thing to see a light or plasma or an object. It's another thing to see structure. And that happened to us one time, and we were, again, this was not this year, this is 2 years ago up at ECETI, but man, it was a flying saucer. Right? It was a flying saucer, and I couldn't believe it, and it was low. It was at night, but it was probably, if I was to guess, I would say a mile, 5,000 feet, maybe a little higher, but it was a flying saucer. It was glowing, but you could see the shape. You saw it when it approached. It was an oval, and when it flew overhead, it was round. As it flew away, it was flat, and it changed colors a couple of times. But it was big. It was crazy. That was really, really fun, and that's
one of many hotspots up there. That's a real good one too.
I can't explain it. Well, which goes to I want to jump into cattle mutilations a little bit here. The investigations that you have done over the years, when we talk about cattle mutilations, everybody wants to think about Linda Moulton Howe, and that's fine. She's done, she's kept her finger on this for a very, very long time and has brought the awareness, but you've been doing it too as well. And what are as here we are in 2018, going into 2019. As you look back, what conclusions have you come to now? Who is doing this?
Well, it's really complicated. That's why when I wrote Stalking the Herd, which is really the only complete, objective, comprehensive overview and case history of the cattle mutilation phenomenon, and I really only scratched the surface. I mentioned there's probably about 1,000 cases in there, which represent about 1/10 of the number of cases that have occurred just in North America. Right now, there's a whole bunch of cases going on down in South America that we're, in my follow-up book, we're going to be talking about South America. That's where the center of this mystery has moved since about 2002. Most of the cattle mutilation cases have been occurring, south of the equator and in Australia and in Argentina, parts of Brazil, Uruguay, even as far south as Patagonia. I was talking with my mentor, and we were talking about this book that came out, Ben Miserak and Chuck Zukowski's book of the 37th Parallel, and we're thinking to ourselves, yeah, but you could draw a straight line anywhere across North America, and there's going to be, tons of interesting stuff there. And I said, yeah, but I was saying to my friend David, I said, what about all the cases down in Patagonia? And he goes, cases in Patagonia? I've never heard of any down there. Have you? And I said, no. And he said, well, why did you say that? And I said, well, it's as far away as I could think of.
Right.
The 37th parallel. And wouldn't you know it, a week later, there was a whole outbreak of cases in Patagonia.
Who is it? Us? Is it them? Is it a combination of both? What's going on?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. I think at the very core of the mystery, you have something high strange. There's something either other dimensional, off planet, something paranormal, something preternatural. There is something at the core of this that's high strange that just can't be explained by modern science. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Out of the 200 or so cases that I personally investigated, 40 of them I felt were done, were definitely mysterious and done with intelligence that weren't scavengers. The other 160 were probably scavenging. It's amazing what insects can do. It's amazing what birds can do. Maggot blooms can polish, incisional areas where they've torn the flesh. It's really complicated. But I think out of those 200 cases, 40 of them were definitely done with intelligence. The majority of them were done with a sharp cutting implement like a scalpel. And out of those, 8 were really spooky. 8 were, you just couldn't explain them. So there is, I think, at the core, they're pretty rare, but there are real high strange cases. The rest of them, let's say, the other 32 out of the 40 were done by, I think, human agents, so very skillful. But when you look at the rationale for doing these cases, the only thing that makes sense to, I think the objective side of the investigating community is that we're seeing some sort of environmental monitoring. They're using cows as test subjects to look at what's going on in the residual elements in the environment.
And we should expect that. I want to jump in. I'm looking at the clock here, and we should expect that. But the 8 cases that you just said were high strangeness, let's talk about those for a second. Were these 8 cases that you investigated personally and you saw?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, when you say, what makes it high strangeness for you?
Well, the granddaddy that I like to describe as the Del Norte calf that happened in May of, I think, 97. The calf was only, a couple months old, not even 6 weeks old. It had been targeted in a field that had just gotten 5 inches of fresh snow. The front leg was gone, missing. The rib cage was gone. The lungs were gone. The intestines, the stomach, The lower organs were gone, except for the liver and heart, which were expertly excised and then laid very carefully in the body cavity. There was one drop of blood on the rear left hoof. The animal was missing its brain with no break into the cranium. The brain case was dry, and there was not one piece of dura, the film that goes around the brain inside the brain case. The animal wouldn't rot. It had a kind of a strange, very faint, but the molecules that were there were very strong, a faint kind of medicinal incense, perfumey, but kind of like some sort of disinfectant smell. And strange lights were reported by two separate witnesses that night to the sheriff's office, unbeknownst to each other. And like I said, the rancher dragged it into his garage, which was heated. And I came back 2 weeks later, 10 days later, I think, and the animal was in the exact condition. It did not rot. It had retarded necrosis. How do you explain that? And the spine had been jerked out in an upwards manner. You could tell by the way the last remaining disc down at the hip and the disc below the skull. It was broken in an upwards manner, which was impossible because the hide was there. So in perfect incisions. I mean, long stretches of cut hair follicles. It was spooky. That's the only one that really kind of made me keep the light on a little extra long at night.
Well, and hearing you, and for nobody that's met you, you're not a small guy. You're a manly man, right? If you know what I'm trying to say.
Very few things frighten me. Let's put it
that's what I'm trying to. That's where I'm going. And so,
I helped design the T-shirt factory.
Yes. So what that affected you, and I'm hearing you describe this right now, and I can't imagine. I have never seen anything like that, and I've asked Linda about this too. That emotionally, you have to be affected when you see this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I moved from Colorado to Arizona, because there were very, very few cases reported there. It's my least favorite thing to do. Oh man, it's the hardest thing is trying to be there for the rancher and his family. I mean, you think it's freaky for someone coming from the outside trying to, investigate a case. How about if it's your cow? And you're worried about, if they could do this to my cow and my dogs didn't even bark, and my dogs would bark at everything, then how the hell am I going to protect my family against something like this? I had a case where it was left on his literally right at his front door. I had another case. Do you want to hear a freaky one?
Mm-hmm.
Our nickname for these things, we call them mutes for short. Mutes. Like that's my favorite button on the TV is the mute button.
Right.
Well, check it out. I got a call from an investigator, and she goes, "You got to talk to this guy. His name is John Mutz, M-U-T-Z." I swear to God.
Okay.
And this is up in the Moreno Valley up behind Taos. And so I went all the way down there. It's about two plus hour drive, and he's sitting there, and he's telling me, I was sitting right here on the porch, and he had this beautiful ranch house that was sat about 150 feet up above his pastures, which are down, that went off into the distance. It's 400 or 500 acres. Beautiful, beautiful place. And you could see right down there, about an eighth of a mile away, 400 or 500 yards away, were all his cows down there. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm sitting here having a beer, just shooting the shit, and we noticed all the cows, and all of a sudden they'd all gathered around in a little tight group right down there, and they started. You could tell they were agitated. We could hear them mooing, and they were moving around, kind of in a circle. And then when they I started to go down there to see what was going on. He says they all started to move away and spread back out, and there was a little calf that was sitting there on the ground. It was less than a year old, and it was laying on the ground. It hadn't been there before, so I went down there and the damn thing was mutilated. And I said, well, so it wasn't there before? He goes, nope. And I said, but the cows all got in there, and then when they split up, the calf was there and it was mutilated. He said, yep, I think I figured it out. It's a cow thing. We should just let them work it out amongst themselves.
Did you see the calf?
No, he had already dragged it off, and I saw a photograph. That was one of the funniest things. I was flabbergasted. It's like, yep, it's a cow thing. We should just let them all work it out amongst themselves.
Wow.
And his name is John Mutz, M-U-T-Z. Look him up. He's in the Moreno Valley there, the Eagle's Nest.
Unbelievable.
I love that. That's such a great story.
Did you see the calf?
No, I didn't find out about it for a couple, 3 days, and then I called him up, and I made the trip all the way down, because there have been a bunch of cases all through the Moreno Valley. One rancher, Eli Hornick, he lost 49 head, 50 head in 2 years.
It's the when there are reported lights, and I find that interesting because the lights could come from two things. It could be ET, but it also could be helicopters, coming in and dropping these animals off or picking them up too as well. How many times do you think that is the case?
Well, we have around 400 mystery helicopter sightings that have been documented in and around mutilation cases. Personally, I've got probably 30 cases that have helicopters directly involved. And as far as strange lights, I've got about maybe a third that number, maybe 10 or 12, where there's pretty good, I think pretty good circumstantial evidence that something high strange is flying around in terms of lighting patterns, that sort of thing. But most of the aerial activity, I've even had black helicopters show up when I was a black helicopter show up when I was investigating a case. The sheriff of Rio Grande County had that happen a couple of times as well. So I think helicopters in North America are reported more than UFO type lighting or craft activity, whereas in South America it's the opposite. It's more claims of UFO activity and less claims of helicopters. It's the exact opposite from down there to up here.
Now, we've got to head to our break, but I can ask you this quickly. Why, if the government is doing testing on cattle, which, again, I can understand why they would do that, but why would they just admit to it so we can remove that part of the mystery? I mean, because
of the beef industry, one of the largest, most powerful lobbies in this country that you never hear about. And the reason why they're not doing it is because what they're testing for is probably mad cow disease, which is 100% fatal in humans. And they don't want to, the largest income producing segment of agriculture is the beef industry, and they don't want to rock that boat. So, I mean, look what happened to Oprah. She had the, Howard Lyman, the mad cowboy, about mad cow disease, and she blurted it out during a show, I'm never going to eat another hamburger again. The next day she had a $2 billion lawsuit.
Right. Yep. And probably ate a Big Mac live on the air.
I eat beef, by the way, Jimmy.
Yes,
I love beef.
So do I.
But I don't eat industrialized beef protein. I know where my beef comes from. And I will not eat fast food beef. One McDonald's hamburger, Burger King, could have up to 1,000 animals in it.
Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight is Christopher O'Brien. When we come back, I want to talk about Skinwalker Ranch. We're going to get into that. And, of course, it is in the news and has been over the last year. So we'll discuss that. We'll take things a little bit further. Christopher O'Brien, this is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Oh, Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. And last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously. Go Beckley Tappy. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products, available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Monday night, our guest tonight's Christopher O'Brien. Tomorrow night, Johnny Enoch is here. Really looking forward to that conversation. We're going to talk about the new Area 51 and some ancient history, too, as well. Wednesday night, Patrick Wood and Tenocracy 2.0. Tonight, it's Christopher O'Brien. Now, Chris, you, how long did you host the Paracast, or co-host?
7-8 years, something like that.
7-8 years. And over those 7 or 8 years, how did things change for you with ufology and the crypto world? Because I see things kind of coming back around this last couple of years too as well. But over that 7-8 years, did it change for you what was going on out there?
Well, I think it did. I think we went from having more baby boomers, more older people involved. It seemed to be getting older and older and older in terms of the average age of people interested in the subjects. And now I'm seeing a lot more young people getting involved, millennials, folks that are, in their 20s, and even teens. And I think that that's really refreshing to see, because I really see that the baby boomer paradigm is being questioned by the younger folks that are getting involved. And I do see that unfortunately the interest in shows like Ancient Aliens and kind of approximations of history and some of the crypto shows and stuff are I think, miseducating people and misinforming people a bit. And I think people are getting a little bit of a warped view of what these subjects really are. They're getting more of a Hollywoodized approximation version. When I got started in this field, there was no internet. I had to go to newspaper, morgues and archives and libraries and write letters to people and spend a lot of money on the phone when long distance was expensive. And you really had to earn it back then. With the internet now, there's a lot of people that are taking shortcuts, believing that they don't have honed BS meters. People are, I think, a little bit more easily fooled by bad, I consider them bad CGI hoaxes on YouTube and stuff. And, there's all a plethora of these hoax websites that are, you may get one good sighting out of 1,000 or maybe 500 or something. There may be something good, but most of it is just the same old, 50 style approximation of what people think UFOs look like. And it's so easy for someone such as myself, who's got quite a bit of training in this area, to instantly be able to look at something and tell you exactly how it was done. Very, very rarely do I have to send it upstairs to someone like a Ray Stanford, who's taught me everything I know about analysis, and because it could possibly fool me. I mean, there's the level of technology is just getting better and better and better. So we're just going to have a harder and harder time with this problem. And I think people are getting a Hollywoodized version of things in the last, let's say, 3 or 4 years. Really, it started getting worse and worse.
Well, I don't understand. Okay, I don't normally go here on this program, but I'm going to go here right now. And I'm going to talk about something specific. There was a video that was sent to me of, it was like, Jimmy, check this out, man. It's the TR-3B on an aircraft carrier, right? I'm like, okay, wait a minute, man. So, as reticent as my click was, I did click and watch it, right? And I'm looking at the video, and I'm like, okay, seriously, right? And then I'm looking at the comments. Holy crap, it's proof. Oh, man. I was just like, wait. Are you guys looking at the same thing that I'm looking at here? This is the fakiest fake. It's not even good quality, right? And if you look really close, you can see the shadows are wrong. The shadows, they're in the wrong direction. And that's all you have to do. And first off, it just looks fake. But if you look even closer, where the reflections and the shadows, it's just wrong. And my eyes, my brain is computing, and it stands out and says, no, the shadows are incorrect. It's wrong. The pixelation is, but there are so many out there that are convinced that it's real. Yeah. And I have a problem with that. It's like they don't want to. They want to believe in the phenomenon so much that they're blinded to the reality of the situation. Like that.
Right, and don't try to tell them that they're wrong either, boy. I'll tell you.
No,
some of these people, they will go off on you.
That's why I don't even like talking about it. The video that was sent out last week. I don't know if you caught this. I think it was Lake Tahoe, right, where these people are there, and there's a
good. I like that.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now
I don't know what to make of that. That's pretty interesting.
Okay. And so when it slowed down and you saw the craft itself, did that look correct to you?
It seemed like it was too small and too close to the camera to be something real high strange. Although, you remember back about 15 years ago, almost 20 years ago, Jose Escamilla and the rods.
Yes.
That?
Uh-huh.
All the rod stuff. It kind of reminds me of something like that, but different, obviously, because
it's skipping
it does
frames.
appear to be metallic.
Right.
It does appear to be metallic, and it does appear to be actually, have some sort of actual presence.
Okay, this is what you need to do. Go back and look at the video. I didn't say anything about this online or anything. I didn't make any comments, but I'll say it now. Go back and look at the video.
I haven't looked at it.
Okay, go back and look at the frame. The sun on the craft, the reflection on the craft is on its side. Okay? It's on the side facing the camera. The reflections on everything else in the video, including the people that are blocking their eyes from the sun is coming from the left.
From the other direction.
Yeah,
okay, good point.
And so you look, and it's obvious once you look that now, if it would have been a real craft caught in this video, the sun would have been reflecting from the front.
Would have been silhouetted.
Right, on the front of the craft, and coming from the left. I don't know what is north, south, east, or west. I'm just talking about orientation of the video as you look at it. The sun is coming from the left, and you can see the reflection on everything else in the video, including the people's heads.
Good eye.
Okay?
Good eye. I didn't look at it close enough. I just thought it looked impressive because the first 3 times I watched, I couldn't see it.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, but when you capture it and you just stop the frame and you look, the reflection is from the side.
Yeah, it's on the wrong side.
It's just like, man. So anyway, this is proof that ET is here. Well, there you go.
Well, I don't go there with me. I think that they're more terrestrial than we are. I think we're aliens. I think that they've been here longer than we have, and there's a good chance we were brought here.
Well, you do have reptilian eyes.
Yeah, I've been accused of that. YouTube compression. Oh man, he's one of those lizard people. Right. Oh yeah, look right here. Look at his eyes.
Okay,
it's called YouTube compression.
So everybody is posting the pictures of the TR-3B on the aircraft carrier. Yeah, look at that. The reflections, the shadows, nothing matches. It is just too funny. Okay, the Skinwalker Ranch, Jeremy Corbell's got his new movie out, and I haven't seen it yet. I haven't had the time to go and watch it. But it is putting this information back out there for everybody to go and bring Skinwalker into the news, and it gets discussed. Have you been to Skinwalker?
Yes, a number of times. In fact, I was the first outside the area investigator up there before Bigelow bought the ranch and before the article came out that same week that the article came out in the Deseret News. I went up. That was one of the first people to go up there and speak with Terry, the rancher.
So compared to now, it seems that, Steve Murillo and Alex Mistretta went up there. They actually broadcasted live from Skinwalker back onto this program. We were hoping for something to happen. But compared to back when you were there to now, and there isn't anything new that is presented in the film. It's George Knapp's old footage, which is great. But has things started to trail off at Skinwalker, or
it ebbs and flows? Yeah, I think that there's activity always going on in the Uinta Basin. That is an extremely active area, and all you have to do is read the great UFO, the Utah UFO display by Frank Salisbury, and look at the work that he and Junior Hicks did up there all through the 60s into the 70s, and actually into the 80s. I mean, that's been a hotbed of activity for decades. And so I think there's always activity going on. What I think, and I've come to this educated conclusion over time, but I have a feeling that Skinwalker is kind of a red herring, that there's activity going on southwest of there that's where the real meat and potatoes activity is going on, down towards Green River and the Green River and Price in the book, I think called the Bookshelf Hills down there, before you get to the river. That's where I think the real activity is happening. And I think the center of the activity has moved south and by southwest. I think the activity ebbs and flows, like I said, all through the area. There's been really amazing reports down by Baxter Pass, which is a pass that goes over into Colorado, south of Bonanza. There's been reports directly south of there. There's been reports directly north of there, right at the base of the Uinta Mountains. So I think Skinwalker is, I think it does have something to do with what's going on there in terms of, that could be indicative of where this egress point is, or an entrance and exit point may be located there, let's say, for the sake of conjecture. And I do think that it plays an important role, but I think it's not by accident that people are being told to keep looking there, and lots of information is in lots of, a lot of people are being fascinated by that particular spot when they don't realize that there's a lot of different areas in that Uinta Basin that should be just as important for investigators to be checking out.
Is it ET related, or is it terrestrial, interdimensional stuff going on?
That would be my choice, and I think that somehow the Department of Defense has gotten involved, and once that happens, then all bets are off, because you never know what whether it's real or Memorex, or whether it's contrived. I mean, the government does do interesting things in hotspot areas. I personally have seen conventional aircraft rigged up with lighting to make them look unconventional. I've seen that with my own eyes. I've seen too much evidence of government involvement in these hotspot areas, kind of weird convoys zipping around, temporary buildings that are up for a couple of days and then disappear, people being kept out of areas where it seems like there's military or government activity going on. Very, very subtle, very clandestine, very, very under the radar, real low key. But in the Uinta Basin, there's similar things that have been reported ebbing and flowing there. And the San Luis Valley is like that. There's been reports of things like that around White Sands, of course, the missile range there. And gosh, they moved a whole town out in Westwind, Colorado, right at the border, just below the Uinta Basin. One time, some big sighting was seen. They moved everybody out of town to Grand Junction for a couple of days and let everybody back in. And people traveling on I-70 said that there were these huge lights down there, and there was all these what appeared to be military activity in the town, and they couldn't figure out what was going on. So the area has always had a lot of interesting military-esque activity as well. So I don't think we can factor the human side of it out there at Skinwalker Ranch. I think it's a whole potpourri of things going on.
What I find interesting is also sometimes the lack of military involvement when there are things going on. Up at Joshua Tree, which you have 29 Palms right there, right? One of the biggest marine installations in the world, right? It's right there. Training aircraft. They've got it all right there at 29 Palms. And it's 19 miles away from the retreat center. And we are there for 3 years in a row out there on that cliff seeing the craziest stuff. And one, the famous sighting that we had there, there's that, the green chrome balls, and that lasted for 5 minutes. That went from the desert, from the desert all the way up to the atmosphere. We watched this craft just take off and head up and take off into space. Now, you watch something like that happen, and then we had the famous Zorro Z, that happened, and that was miles wide, Chris, in the sky. Giant event. 29 Palms is right there. Radar, military, aircraft, they didn't dispatch anything. Dingers. Right? Yes, exactly. And it was like they weren't interested, and we're watching these crazy things. One event after another happening right next to the Marine base, and they didn't dispatch one craft. There was not one helicopter, F-16, F-15, 22, whatever, nothing. They just let it happen.
Well, what does that tell you?
Right. This is my conclusion with that, is that they couldn't do anything. They were used to it. They see it all the time, and they know that there's nothing that they could do. So it's just another night in Joshua Tree for them. That's what it says to me.
If they had craft around there, then you would think, well, it's them. They're monitoring their own psyop type drone or something, a hypersonic drone possibly, or some sort of anti-grav device, or, that's when you see attendant aircraft, helicopters around, convoys zipping around, SUV convoys with a bunch of antennas on each of the cars, zipping around very low-key, clandestine, and there are so many different things that are involved in waves of UFO reports and in this type of activity. And it's very difficult sometimes, I think, to unwind and unravel what's really, operative and what's going on. And I think some people jump to conclusions too quickly without having all the facts and without really digging a few shovelfuls deeper.
Jason just tweeted out, check this out, Chris. Jason just tweeted, one highlight of my life was being present for the Zorro UFO and hearing Jimmy go nuts, right? So, and what is so cool about that tweet, Chris, is that I was standing there with about 200 people, right?
Yeah, and I remember when that happened.
It was crazy, and when that
a lot of people were talking about it.
Yeah, and I will never shut up about that. I am their support for this. It was a crazy, and that was naked eye. That was just, across. And but if we saw it like we did, well, so did 29 Palms. And
how could they not?
I remember, yeah, right, like everybody else, because it was right there in the sky. Why wouldn't they respond?
I think you hit the nail on the head. They know that there's nothing they can do. So by responding and knowing that there's nothing they can do, they're just looking like they're not in control. The government's job is to be in control of everything. Okay, it doesn't matter what it is. The government wants to be in control. And they will bend over backwards to not appear to be not in control.
Well, when we come back, I'm going to set this up for the return, one host to another. I'm going to set this up for you, Chris. Here we are going through a pretty amazing year of UFO activity reports. It seems like we've got the media behind us now, finally talking about it and disclosure, and we've got these reports fresh today out of Ireland. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Okay. And so.
Yeah, it sounds real promising.
Yeah, exactly. Here we are. Is disclosure? Are we on the edge of something big about to break?
Yeah, we should talk about that, definitely.
Well, what do you think? Can you feel it? Is it tangible?
I can feel it, sure. But again, I think the whole idea of disclosure is totally beholden to the wishes of that which we want disclosure about. I don't think that the government has any file in any file cabinet that they can whip out and tell us definitively what we're dealing with. I think that they know a lot more than we do, and I think your level of confusion is based on how much you know. And since they know a lot more than we do, that means that they're a lot more confused than we are, and we're pretty confused. So that's saying a lot. I think the government will never admit that they're not in control of any situation. Now, someone like a wild card like a Donald Trump, maybe if he got a hold of some information or was actually allowed to be read in to a level of secure information, that he would be the type of person that would just kind of lose his head and, possibly spill the beans, whatever beans there are to be spilled. But I really think that it's up to the ETs or the extra dimensionals or the time travelers or the, whatever is going on. I think it's totally beholden to them to disclose their presence, and the very fact that they haven't gives me the indication that they're not going to anytime soon.
The word disclosure, when I say, and I say it often, that I don't need it, right? I've had my sightings. I know, there's something crazy going on.
I've been close enough to touch them.
Right, exactly. So for me, right? But when I say that, and certainly when I say that kind of stuff publicly, I get murmurs. I get anger because what they want, by me saying that is not what they want. What they want is, the president stepping up on live television. And until that happens, disclosure hasn't occurred. And
yeah, but even if that does happen, half the population won't believe it. They'll think it's some gimmick or some trick. They'll think it's some, attempt to control the information to get ahead of it. People will second guess something that dramatic, I think, especially in other countries and around the world.
Well, okay, let's take a break. We're going to finish this up. This is a subject that is important to all of us. So we'll finish that thought when we come back. Our guest tonight, Christopher O'Brien. Lots more to talk about. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Poor water quality is a major health issue, and it's only getting worse. Municipalities can't keep up, standards have dropped, and pollutants are increasing. Where does it all end? It ends by keeping the pollutants outside of your home with HydroCare's advanced systems available at Wave Home Solutions. No less than the best purification materials and processes have been developed by HydroCare to provide you with healthy, clean water for drinking, cooking, and showering. HydroCare far surpasses the competition in removing chlorine, odors, iron, lead, chemicals, limescale, and much more. Don't settle for less when it comes to your water. We'll take care of the toughest water problems for you, whether it's from a city or well source. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, call 888-997-WAVE. That's 888-997-WAVE. Or go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Wave Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRARadio.com.
Does your basement or crawl space have a damp, musty smell? Well, watch out. That's a sign of too much moisture and not enough ventilation. And that can mean increased mold growth and the buildup of harmful toxins and gases. Don't bother with a dehumidifier. It just circulates the same unhealthy air. Now there's a better way to remove these dangers and odors. It's with the computerized Wave Moisture Control Unit that reduces moisture and expels pollutants.
We replaced our old dehumidifier with the Wave unit, and in only 3 weeks, our basement is dry and the musty smell is gone.
Wave units require no maintenance, no buckets of water or filters, and costs only pennies a day to run. Breathe better, live healthier with an affordable, no-maintenance Wave unit. Call 888-717-WAVE, 888-717-WAVE, or visit dryhealthyhome.com. Dryhealthyhome.com.
Ride the wave. Home Solutions for a healthy, comfortable home.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony. Damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back, Fade to Black. Yeah, that was whack. That was system wide. That was bizarre. I blame it all on Chris O'Brien, though. It's Chris's fault. It's Chris. You know, you start talking about the government, right? Disclosure, and our website crashed. YouTube, the whole, it was just like blip, 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 and everything was fine here. So that was really strange.
That's the first time it's happened to me.
Well, yeah, I don't even react anymore, Chris. You know what was weird? This is this is as true as anything I've ever said. When I did sports radio, nothing. Technically, never a hitch. Everything rock solid every single day. You start doing this stuff and conspiracies and things and weirdness. It's I don't even react. I just don't. It's just par for the course. So let's get. Yeah, I know, right? Totally. Let's get back to where we were, though. And somebody just said we need a recap. You said something interesting, that if the president got up, POTUS, he's on the podium, he's live, that half of the world would react like there's another message. They're doing this for a reason. I look at it a little bit different. I want your feeling on this. That when the day of disclosure happened, December 16th last year with the New York Times and what happened in mass media, my family that never talks about UFOs, they know what I do for a job, right? But they don't talk to me about it. But their reaction was, so what? We're not alone. We knew it. And I thought that was a pretty interesting reaction. Wall Street didn't collapse, right? The Vatican didn't burn down. People didn't jump off of buildings. It seemed like it was pretty status quo.
Yeah, well, again, that's going back to what we were talking about earlier. It's the power of the media, how we've been sort of just bashed over the head with the subject. This is one of the biggest income-producing subjects on television. Ancient Aliens is a top show in the history of the History Channel, besides maybe Pawn Stars. You're looking at a tremendous upsurge of interest in these subjects as more and more emphasis on these subjects is being placed in the media. And now that we're the gray lady is in the Wall Street Journal and the Washington Post and CNN and now Fox News are covering the whole Tic Tac videos and the Nimitz story and the whole thing with the Bigelow Aerospace being involved with Lou Elizondo's group. It's just incremental. I think disclosure has been going on for many years. We're just seeing it. It's like trying to watch the minute hand on a clock, the old analog clocks. You really can't see it move, but it is moving. So we're gradually creeping forward, and the further we go, the more the media covers this stuff, the more jaded people become, especially the kids. That's why the whole idea of conferences is going to, go the way of the cassette tape and records or cassette, let's say 8-track tapes, because they don't want to go and sit down in a hard chair and listen to, speaker after speaker. They'll tune in online. But they can't afford to, spend for a hotel, fly themselves there, go out to dinner and all this stuff. The only reason really why a lot of these people, baby boomers, do this and continue to do it, I think, is because it's a social thing. They get to see people they haven't seen in a while. They have a whole set of friends that they reconnect with. When I go to these conferences, I never go listen to the speakers. I'm always, reconnecting with people and comparing notes and networking and stuff. That's kind of what I do. So I think we're seeing a whole new generation now coming up, and you look at you go to the UFO Congress or you go to MUFON. The average age there is in the mid-60s. Okay, I'm one of the young guys.
Right.
It's so the whole thing is going to shift. There's going to be complete changes. It's the same way with the record industry. It's the same way, with broadcast, major network television. We're seeing, because of the internet, because of the access to information, we're seeing a complete shift in how this information is delivered, and that's gonna impact, I think, greatly the paranormal subject matter that we're all interested in.
What do you think about disclosure happening with POTUS and the podium? That's one thing. But what about a blowout accidental disclosure, one that you can't deny, such as WikiLeaks or some type of data dump or a hack or anonymous getting in, like Gary McKinnon, getting into NASA's computers, where that would happen, and then they are forced into a disclosure situation where...
That's possible, yeah, I could see that, but I think, number one, it's very compartmentalized, and most of the real salacious stuff, the real meat and potatoes, the real good stuff, is in the private sector, and that's pretty difficult to get at. You really have to have some sort of whistleblower that's going to leak some way for a hacker to get in, tell them, well, go check this out, go check that out, and pull it out of, Aerodyne or TRW or, any of these, I guess both of those don't exist anymore, but McDonnell Douglas or Boeing, that's probably where a lot of this stuff is.
So when you say private sector, when you say private sector, you're talking about Lockheed or Skunk Works or
aerospace. That's where I think a lot of it is, and therefore it's out of the reach of the Freedom of Information Act request. I mean, John Greenwald, obviously, you've had him on the show. He's a real good person to get a hit on how much he thinks is really in the government files, compartmentalized away from most of us. Of course, we have our Wright Patterson and some of the work that they do, counter espionage on foreign technology, and things like that. Chances are there is some stuff there. There may be other stuff in R&D programs, think tanks, that sort of thing. But I think the real meat and potato stuff, the real tech stuff, the possible crashed objects, technology, things that could be back engineered, that sort of thing. I'm pretty sure that that's been squirreled away into a consortium of private industry, especially in aerospace.
How do you react to that, though? The backwards engineering aspect of it. Certainly, if it has occurred, and it probably has, I don't have any proof of that, but we wouldn't be the only ones. The Russians must have crashed and backward engineer stuff, or Chinese, or Brazil, right? It's not
the Brits.
Yeah, right.
So, a good book to read is Jacques Vallée's book that he co-wrote with the help of Tracy Torme, who, of course, was the senior story editor for Star Trek New Generation, did the Fire in the Sky movie about Travis Walton, wrote the script, produced it. Vallée wrote a book that not many people tend to forget about. It's called Fast Walker. It's based on his novel that he did in French called A Intel. And it's a it's a fictionalized story, of a reporter getting into an underground base, seeing technology, finding out that it's probably biological, and is involved with their interfaces with human consciousness. There's spatial, real wild spatial things. You go inside, and you could be inside a huge, space. It's no way it could be inside that small object. You go in there, and it's like you're in, another world, like you walk through Alice in Wonderland or something. I think there's a lot of clues in there, and Vallée wrote that book for a very specific reason. He wanted to be able to tell his public something that he couldn't tell them as being reality based, but something that he could fictionalize to maybe get some points across. And I just reread that again for the first time in a number of years, and I do recommend that people, if you really want to have a sense of an insider's view of what's going on, I think that's a really good book to read. It reminded me so much of my screenplay that I wrote that also has some pretty interesting twists in there about the possible ability to back engineer technology and to use anti-grav and that sort of thing.
What do we do with I want to wrap up with this thought. What do we do with the abduction phenomenon, as a community where so many out there have, the number's probably in the millions, right, that has the same experiences and the same memories and the same story that is told over and over again. That is, we're taking a step in a direction of fantastical, but so many have the same experience over and over again. You've interviewed and talked to so many that have these experiences. What do we do with that?
Well, I think the abduction phenomenon is very, very complicated. There's a lot of different elements at play. Out of all the hundreds and hundreds of cases that I explored, I only had 4 abduction cases, believe it or not. In 10 years, only 4 people came to me. 2 of them were definitely delusional. 2 of them I felt were very, very good cases, which I write about in my book, Secrets of the Mysterious Valley. One was shown the location of gold treasure when he asked, can your technology show me gold? And they showed him 4 different, one was a lost robbery hoard, one was an abandoned Spanish mine that caved in that has a bunch of gold, and the other was a gold deposit that had yet to be discovered. And what was the other? I forget what the 4th one was, but that was a very interesting story. And then I had a woman who claimed that she had, and she showed me medical records, that right as she entered her 3rd trimester of pregnancy, her pregnancy disappeared, and her doctor said it was like she had never been pregnant. Just all the tests that they did on her, and it was totally baffling. I was actually turned on to that case by the county sheriff's department. I would think that if it was as widespread as you're saying, that in a hotspot area like I was investigating, and the amount of people that knew what I was doing, that I would have gotten more calls about, people's claims of visitations and abductions. Actually, there was one other, a third one that was very good. It coincided with an experience I had 20 minutes after I felt something walk into my room. And I couldn't really see it, but I definitely knew there was a group of something there. And I just felt it so strongly. And then I found out a couple of weeks later that my neighbor, right, literally a stone's throw away, had the same thing happen to her, except she was able to see them all when they walked in through her wall. So
wait a minute. Hold on. Pump the brakes, Chris. Chris O'Brien, yes, just said that you had something, and I think you said multiple beings that you found in your room.
Yeah, they came right through the wall next to my head. They walked around down the side of my bed and then curved around. And at one point, one stuck its face right. I could feel the presence of something just inches away from me, like something was looking in my face, but I couldn't see it. But I could feel it. It was one of these. I've never felt that before or since. And I just told them, hey, if you're not, here to, if you're not positive, if you're not, if you're not here with good intentions, leave. And they did. And I thought, wow, that was weird. And I woke my girlfriend up. I said, can you sense something? She goes, no, I don't sense anything. Why did you wake me up? I said, okay. And she just rolled over and was mad at me. And I found out somebody came to me about a week later and said, your neighbor there had something really weird happen to her and her little 5-year-old boy. She told me about it. She doesn't want anybody to know, but I think you should talk to her. And so it took me about a week to get her to admit something happened. And then when I talked to her, she showed me her notes that she had written down in her journal. And she said, yeah, when they came through her wall, they looked like water. They were rippling like they were partially they're partially manifest. They were like water. And then they became totally, opaque. And they ignored her, and they went and they circled around the crib where a little 5-year-old boy was, and she was really scared. And she started, blessing her son and herself, and telling them, if you're not of the light, please leave, blah blah blah. And they did, and they went right back out through the wall, the same way they came in. And I said, well, what's the date there? And she gave me the date and the time, and I'm like, whoa. That was 20 minutes after I had something happen. I wrote about it in my first book, The Mysterious Valley. That was weird. And she was married to a very famous psychologist as well, Artie Lang. So that's not just some housewife that needs some attention. She was a very, very smart, educated, freaked out individual who had never even thought these things were possible. And her little boy was predicting earthquakes. It was an interesting story. And she definitely got the sense that they were interested in him, and she was just kind of there. And normally she wouldn't be sleeping in his room, but he had nightmares or something, so she was in there. Very interesting case. I wouldn't call it an abduction, but it was it definitely left kind of left an impression on me, because I was sure something came in. I actually thought I could see it at one point, the shoulder, arm. It was like reflections off of, almost like the Predator in the movie Predator.
Yeah.
Kind of a flashy mirror, sort of sparkly feeling to the air, but you couldn't really see anything. And I thought I saw a shoulder. But anyway, I've never had anything like that happen before or since.
Same thing with me. I had one, very similar to that happen to me. Never happened again, but the difference was I didn't talk about it. All right, I didn't tell anybody, and I'm uncomfortable with it, in that I really don't want to know. I don't want to know what happened. I don't want to know who it was. I don't want to regress. I don't want to know if I was abducted. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I had when I was 7, I had an up close and personal encounter, which I mean they follow me around my neighborhood at 3 a.m. That's a whole other thing. That's why I'm interested in the subject. I mean, I've always been interested because I know there's something real that's not you know, it's not like you and me. It's definitely different.
You know what? I'm okay. I'm going to keep you for overtime. I want to hear about this encounter when you were 7. So just stand by. We're going to take a break here. But did you say Artie Lang?
Yeah.
The Artie Lang?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, his last wife, and he had a child before he died when he was much older. And she lived in Crestone.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's.
I probably shouldn't have said that. I mean, it's been 20 years, so you know maybe she'll be okay with it. But yeah, it was her son Charlie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, let's take a break right here, and when we come back, Chris, I've got to know what happened when you were 7, and so save all of that. We'll do that when we come back. Our guest tonight, Christopher O'Brien. And this is the thing with Chris. Chris and I, a few years ago, we sat, Chris will remember this, we sat and talked for about 2 or 3 hours in 120 degrees. You remember that? And it was one of the best conversations I've ever had at a conference. And it's happening right now again on Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Christopher O'Brien. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. A little overtime when we come back.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter,
but listening to Jimmy Church will.
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tappy.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and my family is safe because of Numana Emergency Food Storage. Just go to the Numana banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code Jimmy10.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, doing a little overtime with Chris O'Brien tonight. And before we get back to Chris, I want to, well, first off, tomorrow night, Johnny Enoch is going to be here. And then Wednesday night, Patrick Wood is our guest. Thursday night is going to be Open Lines Fader night with Teresa Yannaris here as well. But I do want to, a little PSA announcement. L.A. Marzulli lost his home and studio and facilities to the fires here in Southern California over the weekend. And we posted up, and it's over on our Facebook page too as well, the GoFundMe to help out L.A. and his family. And he is a host here on KGRA and has his program. He's a member of this community and family for many years. And so anything that you can do to help L.A. and get through this very difficult time. And also, Chris has his GoFundMe too as well. And Chris, everybody, can they go to UFODAP.com, which we have the links up at Jimmy Church Radio, but can they help you out there?
No, you have to go to GoFundMe.com /UFODAP DAP, and then hyphen or dash.
Okay, so
LV.
Okay, we're going to get those links up on Twitter. So the links for the GoFundMe are not over at the UFO DAP website?
No, it's a placeholder until next week when the site gets launched.
Oh, I got you. Okay, all right. So we'll get the links up for your GoFundMe here on Twitter right now. And, okay, so what happened when you were 7? This is what's really funny. I was just talking about our conversation that we had in the sun that one day. And right. You never know. I'm just going to tell the audience a little slice of this conversation. So Chris and I are sitting there talking, and we find out that we have a mutual friend, a close friend. I'm not going to say his name, but a close friend that I have known for 30, 35 years, and Chris. And you just never know when you sit down how small the world is, right? And
yeah,
it's a small world. And I do owe you a photograph of our mutual friend, and I will. It cannot go public, though.
What about that?
He would kill me. He would kill you, too, as well. But nonetheless, it's a small world.
I can't wait to post it.
Yeah, right. That's my fear. Oh, that's my fear, because he's such a talented and very cool person. But anyway, what happened when you were 7?
It's bizarre. I woke up. I had a bedroom in a basement.
Where did this happen?
This happened in one of the. Let's put it this way: if I had my paper out today that I had back then, a couple years later, I'd be Bill Gates' paper boy. It happened in Medina, on the lake in Bellevue.
Okay,
Washington.
Got you. Okay.
And so anyway, I'm in. I wake up, and I see this glittering light that was going up and down like a 2-foot wand, and there were 3 of them. And I'm like, what what is this? And they're like kind of at the side of my bed and then curved around towards the foot of my bed. And then as my eyes start to adjust to the light, I realize that there's 3 hands holding the middle of these wands with this colored light going up and down, like glittering. And I could see from the glow of these wands, or spears as I called them later, I could see the outline of these extremely skinny, arms like my thumb, legs like 2 thumbs width. I mean, I called them stick men. They were incredibly skinny. There was 3 of them. There looked like there was a 4th one, maybe a taller one in the back that was hiding in the dark. I really couldn't see much detail. Of course, the first thing I did was cover myself up with my covers.
Of course, right.
Put them back up to look to see if I was dreaming or not. And when I realized that they were real, I just dashed out of my room. I wasn't frozen. I wasn't, immobilized. And I dashed out of my door. I went up the 10 steps to the landing out the way at the front door. I turned around to go up the last 4 steps to the part of the house where my parents' bedroom was. And they were at the top of the stairs. And I didn't know if it was the same group, whether it was a different group, but it was the same 3 little guys, the same height as I was, holding these glittering spears, I call them. So I ran to the kitchen and I grabbed the door to go out, and I forgot my dad had just put the screen door on, and I ran into the screen door. This was in the early spring, just before my 7th birthday. I think it was 6 and like 52 weeks or something, or 51 weeks. So my birthday was right around the corner. So I got knocked down, and this is when I really knew I was awake. I had a little bump on my head, and I could see them all the way through the kitchen at the other end of the kitchen. And at this point, there was enough kind of residual light where I could really get a much better sense of them, and see how impossibly skinny they were. And they were a pasty kind of off-white, kind of a dirty white color. They had large heads. I don't remember their eyes. I've blanked that out for some reason. I don't remember the shape of their eyes, which is kind of strange. But anyway, I wanted to run around to my parents' room. For some reason, they either blocked me or something happened, and I ended up going down the driveway through the hedge to go to the Richards who lived next door, to bang on their door and see if I could use their phone to call back to the house. And nobody answered the door. And so I ran out to the next neighbor, and they had a big, huge lawn, and there was a street light that was between the lawn and my neighbor's driveway. And so I stood out in the middle of the lawn with plenty of elbow room, and I kind of waited to see if they would come through the light so I could get a really good look at them. And this is the weird part of this. This is, the trickster kind of, the part that, when you tell people this, they go, okay, well, it had to have been a dream. But they approached the light, and right when they got to where the light was splayed in the circle on the ground, they turned sideways and had no depth. They were like paper.
They were flat, 2D.
They were flat, 2D, exactly. And they turned sideways and they came through the light. I could see these thin lines coming through the light, and I became terrified. I ran around the Barker's house, banged on their door. The last thing I remember is their porch light coming on. And then my sister found me 4 or 5 houses away on a deck. She said she looked for me for about 20 minutes. I think it was longer. The Barkers had seen me outside. When they went to open the door, I wasn't there, so they called my house. My sister answered the phone. She started looking for me. She found me finally, across the street and down the other direction. So I don't know how much time that I'm missing, let's say, but it's between 40 minutes and 20 minutes and 40 minutes, something like that. My sister took me home. She said I was absolutely terrified. I wouldn't go down to my room. I said, the stick man, and she thought I was having a nightmare. I'd never sleepwalked before or since. And she said I was so freaked out when I fell asleep in the bed with her, I tried to nurse her, she said. That's how terrified it was, which is really strange for me, because I was kind of You know, I was a macho little kid, you know, really into sports and everything, even at 6. It's the most incredible thing that's ever happened to me. I remember like as yesterday, it's seared into my brain. Years later, I found out John Keel investigated 3 other cases with the exact same description in the towns around my town, in I think around Lake Sammamish, Houghton, and Redmond. There were 3 other cases. In fact, in one of the cases, the kid called them stickmen. I think this was in Operation Trojan Horse, the Keel book. So you know, I've always known that there's something here that's living here now, and it's probably as terrestrial as we are. I have a suspicion that we have yet to define, that's interacting with us on some level. And, you know, whether they're crypto-terrestrials, ultra-terrestrials, if you will, or meta-terrestrials, dimensional, or there are other tenants on Earth, you know. I really don't know. I didn't see any craft. I have no reason to think that they came from, you know, from outer space, let's say. Right. I was not exposed to sci-fi at that age. I wasn't allowed to watch TV. I led a very, you know, cloistered life when I was young. My parents are very protective of outside influences and stuff. And this, you know, of course they said, oh, you were just having a nightmare and sleepwalking. Well, I said, what about the bump on my head? I remember running into the screen door. So, you know, I've always known, I've always had this total fascination with all these subjects. I've been a closet UFO buff for years. When I lived in New York City, of course, I could never, only a few really close friends I would talk to about this stuff. And when I finally moved out west and then landed in the paranormal Disneyland, that's when I really was able to really, you know, exercise, you know, my just fascination, you know, to the extent of writing books and interviewing people and putting 300,000 miles on my truck in 6 years.
You know, and see, this is the best part of your experience, though, when you're talking with somebody that has something that they want to share. You know, you're going to listen. You know where it goes from there, but you've had that experience right there, and especially at that age,
totally changed my life. I would not be the person, even close to the person I am now, if that hadn't happened.
You know,
no way.
And somebody comes up to you and tells you, you know, or better yet, right? Somebody is talking to somebody else. You're an observer. And you're listening to somebody tell a story that is similar to yours, right? And you're listening, and the person that they're telling it to is dismissing it, and you're like, no, you know. And that's the thing. There are people out there that are going to listen to this broadcast, and listen to this, where there's going to be those out there that are going, you know what, man, Chris is. You know, I'm not buying into this. Then there are the others that are going to listen, Chris, and go, you know what? That same thing happened to me. You know, right. and I need to hear this from Chris, so I know that I'm not crazy. And I've never talked about it. I've kept it inside. But that's the importance of. Have you shared? I've never heard you speak about this before. I'm sure you have.
I didn't talk about this stuff for a long time. With other than real close friends, girlfriends, and people I'd known for decades who knew me well enough. It wasn't until I really started getting publicly involved in this stuff, and I had 6 hours of missing time out in Utah just before I moved to Crestone. That kind of reminded me that there's, you know, possibly I'm one of those people that attracts this type of stuff, because at that point I'd had a couple of real good sightings, one that was interactive. A group of us were able to interact with lights in the sky and trace out, lay on the field and trace out shapes, and they would mirror them in the sky. That was another really interesting, in New Paltz, right around the time that Whitley Strieber claims he started having his experiences in New Paltz. So, you know, I have had some other experiences too with people that have always reminded me that I'm not crazy, that there is something to this stuff. But I was very reluctant, just like being funded by Lawrence Rockefeller. I was very reluctant to tell people about that for a lot of years. There's just certain things that you don't want people to hear that and then call your credibility or your integrity or your truthfulness or your veracity into question. And it got to a point, in the late 90s, early 2000s, where I didn't really care anymore. I just felt so strongly that I had to really fess up because I was getting so many questions about the abduction phenomenon. I was getting so many people talking about contactees and experiencers and strange experiences and people constantly asking me, and I would say yes, and then I would say, well, I don't really want to talk about it. And I finally just, one day, it was at a conference too. Somebody asked me, and I said, well, this is the first time I've ever actually told this in public, but yes, and I told them this story. It's one, that and getting my two front teeth knocked out by a line drive in baseball the following year, crashing on my bike real bad, seeing a school of huge carp. I mean, there were certain things in my childhood that I remember really well, but nothing compares to the memory of that night. That was the most freaky thing that anyone could ever experience. I mean, like I said, it really changed my life.
I think also that we're starting to the way that we looked, going back to say 1947 and forward, the way that we looked at UFOs, we didn't understand the physics of everything, the size of the universe. We didn't have a real clue. In 1929, right, 17 years before Roswell and Kenneth Arnold, there was only a couple of galaxies out there, right? We didn't understand what was around us or gravity or we just didn't understand it. Today we now in less than a lifetime ago, now we understand that there is 400 billion galaxies, right? 400 billion. In 1929, there was one, the Milky Way, ours, right? And the way that we looked at UFOs was an innocent, we're trying to figure things out. Today, with quantum mechanics and string theory and the possibility of parallel worlds or interdimensionality,
the many worlds,
many worlds, right? All of we have a scientific foundation of looking at the possibility of things where the crypto world or Bigfoot or UFOs or your two-dimensional stick guys, right? That we have a whole
There's
nother
40 billion Earth-like planets in our galaxy alone.
And the majority of those are 1 billion years older than our sun. In the Milky Way, in our Milky Way, the age of the Milky Way is, it's a phenomenon. It's old. So we didn't understand these things just less than a lifetime ago. I think we're starting to understand with science the possibility of what is actually going on. You're absolutely right. A two-dimensional flat stick figure guy waving a wand, could that be E.T. or off-planet? Could be. Is it something that just came into our frequency and you were able to see it for a second, right? They could be walking around us now.
They follow me to two neighbors' houses. Well, at least one neighbor's house. When I went around the corner and pounded on the second neighbor's door, I don't recall ever seeing them again after I came around the corner, but then I disappeared. So,
was that the only time? By the way, I meant to ask you that. Was that the only contact?
I had an experience just the night before the first time I visited Crestone in the San Luis Valley. I was out dinosaur fossil hunting in Utah. There was something running around. We heard these little pitter-patter steps outside our tent, and my girlfriend and my friend from back east, they were terrified, and they were like blubbering. So I took the Winchester, and I went outside, and and checked around, and I didn't really see anything. I looked for footprints. This is about, 1 o'clock at night. And they had never been in a place like South Central Utah. This is kind of like the Uinta Basin, but further south. And so I sat in the car, and I was going to wait and see if something showed up. And I was, all of a sudden, I started seeing something in the rear view mirrors. And it was like this, it was just playing with me. I'd look in the left mirror, and I'd see it in the right mirror, and then it would be in the center mirror. And there was something running around the back of the car. And I could just kind of barely check out movement, some light-colored movement. And so I rolled down the window. I had a big mag light, and I turned it on, and I shone it, to the back of the car to see if I could see anything, and I didn't see anything. So I turned and faced forward. I was in the driver's seat. And the next, I blinked, and it was 7 o'clock in the morning. My light was still on in my hand. And I am a super restless sleeper. Even in my own bed, I wake up 3 or 4 times a night. I don't have any memory. I mean, and the light was still on. The battery should have wore out hours before. And that freaked me out. It was 6 hours, like 5.5, 6 hours of missing time, just in a blink of an eye. That was bizarre.
I don't have a missing time story yet. I will eventually have one. I don't have one. This is what I find so much fun. This is the truth. I never saw an orb in my life, right? I would see pictures and I would dismiss it, whatever, man, that's dust, that's this, I'd say, you're imagining things. Then I see my first orb. That changes you, right? But Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah, I've seen some good ones.
Yeah, and Bigfoot, just
photographs
dismiss
on
it.
My website.
I see my first Bigfoot print, and then I don't see one, I see 4, right? Big, giant in the middle of this field. And that changes you, right? The whole meditation thing, I always dismiss. And then when you do, so I'm starting to accumulate. Now I've seen my triangle. I've photographed a triangle in the sky. I've seen my things, but I haven't had the missing time. I've seen a ghost. I don't have the missing time experience yet.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
Careful what you wish for.
I know. I want that story. Chris, what's up next for you? I know you're, did you just finish your screenplay or you're writing it now? What are you doing? You've got a TV show you're working on too, right?
Yeah. I'm going to be coming out with a podcast called Out There with Ed, featuring yours truly. We've been working on this for a while. We had Meg Griffin, the famous DJ who first brought the Ramones and Talking Heads and the Clash and everybody to America. She's been doing our voiceover stuff. So that's going to be debuting here in a week or so. I'm real excited about that. Get back on the air. And then, of course, the UFO DAP program out in the San Luis Valley this spring. I'm going out. We're going to put up the other couple of cameras and get our scientific gear package calibrated out there and start really getting some good information. Everybody, if you want to help out, go to GoFundMe.com /UFO DAP and then -SLV for San Luis Valley. So, and OurStrangePlanet.com is my website. There's a lot of good stuff on there, too, if you're interested in my work.
Thank you so much. Great conversation tonight from start to finish. Absolutely amazing. And thank you for all that you do.
Licking the tip of the iceberg, as you know.
I know. I can't wait to get you back on the show. And we'll get the links up for the GoFundMe. Let's do another round.
Cool.
And
thank you.
And
thanks to your listeners who chipped in last month. I mean, 2 months ago, it was really great, you guys. You really helped get that trip paid for and get those 2 cameras up. And real soon, we're going to have both triangulated, and we're going to be posting some pretty cool stuff.
And get us the links up, or let us know when the site goes active next week, and we'll get that up there for you, too.
Will do.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Jimmy.
Have a great night. Chris O'Brien, and what a fantastic conversation. But I got to tell you, I want to go back there. I have I have a friend that told me about his experience, and him and the people that he was with thought that it was an ET contact experience with these creatures on the ground. But this is what he described was very similar to what Chris just said, in that they were flat and they walked sideways, and then went in that they had shape from the front. But then when they looked around to the side, they saw that they were actually flat and they were walking sideways and they shimmered. And I was told about that in probably 1985. And the story was then repeated to me many, many years later, a few years ago, and I had my memory refreshed on it. But that was that contact, that was that experience, and that they were 2D and they were walking sideways, and then when they got around and saw them turn, that they were actually flat. And hearing Chris describe it that way, very, very, very interesting. 2D. Remember the other? I meant to bring this up. The orb, the orb that I saw up at ECETI, it was flat. That orb was not spherical. It was flat. It was 2D. It was like a coin, and it was flat. It wasn't 3D. Something going on. There's a 2D parallel world out there that is a side-scrolling Mario Brothers game where everything is 2D and doesn't have that third dimension to it. Think about that. Very interesting. Chris O'Brien, the website is UFODAP.com. It's going to go live next week. They've got one camera that is out there now. That is online. They're going to add the second camera. That is ready. We will get the GoFundMe up on Twitter and go and help out. All of us Fadernauts get together and get that done. With that, I'm going to get out of here. This is Fade to Black, and tomorrow night, right here on Fade to Black, Johnny Enoch. That's right. The new Area 51, that's going to be revealed tomorrow night. We're going to talk about some ancient history, too, as well. A little Egypt, a little South America, a little Central America. We're going to do all of that tomorrow night. Johnny Enoch. Wednesday night, Patrick Wood, Technocracy 2.0. Thursday night's another Fader Night with Teresa Yanaris. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Show's produced by Hill J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. It's broadcast owned and copyrighted 2018 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Till tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.